To the computer. All right, so I am recording. So anyway, in last night's session, essentially what I did was I started by creating the 8-page document. We discussed what the projects were going to be, and we discussed what aspect you're going to deal with week 1, and then of course week 2 and week 3 and week 4, and you're going to build on this 8-page thing. So we created our 8-page thing, our 8-page document, and we discussed the different types of gridding layout elements that we can manipulate, and we talked a little bit about the baseline grid, which you can find in preferences, and I showed you how I set up a numbering system for my baseline grid based on what I believed I was going to be using for copy for my document. And we also talked about the columns and the guides, and I showed you by playing around a little bit that it's very easy to go in and modify the columns and the gutters and change the sizes on the fly, and you could literally change one page, or you could go into your master page and you could change all the pages. So it makes it very flexible and gives you the ability to actually play around with a lot of things. What we did next was we produced some text frames. I talked about the text frames. Of course, I also showed the project that we are working on for this week, and I also showed the completed project, what the completed project would look like based on a design that I created. And again, you know, I'm not saying you have to copy my design. You can copy certain parts of it, but I'm looking more for you to be creative and to have some fun with this. And I talked about all that. I produced text frames. I started by producing some text frames that jumped from the pages, which would be page 2 to page 7. And if we look in the page panel here, there's page 2 and there's page 7. Oh, and I might mention here that I made a mistake last night, and I didn't catch it until after my class was done. Let's see if I can show you it. Yeah, unfortunately, I corrected it to such a degree that I'm not going to be able to show you. This is page two, my beginning page for my editorial. I had it over here. It was on the wrong page. So I just literally went in and I selected everything and I moved it over to the correct page. But I'm mentioning this to you because if you look in the video, you're going to see that I'm on this page and it's incorrect. And I don't want anybody to get confused by that. All right. If you take a look at your, your pages, your page should be on 2 and it should be on page 7. That's where the editorial is going to run. Okay. You good with that, David?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So again, I produced some text frames. I showed how to link them. And before I even put copy in, I linked them. And then I also showed how you jump them from one page to another via linking. And then I went in and I established on my master page, which is right here, I established a couple of elements. In my case, I noted that the only thing that I was going to be putting on my master page, and that's a choice that I made, was November 2017 and then the page number. And I chose not to put them on every page. I chose to put them on the spreads on the right-hand page. So there would be nothing on this side. There would be the date of the edition and then the page numbering on the right side of each spread. So that's my master page. We also established a series of layers. The background layer for elements that would be considered background elements. I created a guide layer so that I could actually show some guides that I have. I have a text layer and an image layer, and the reason I do this is because I like to keep my text on one layer and images and things on another layer. So again, I strongly recommend that you guys get into the habit of using layers in all your programs. I mean, this is primarily a print-based mod, but we are discussing at several points web layout. And if you're familiar with a program like Muse, have you had any contact with Muse yet, David?
I just downloaded it last night.
Okay, so you're going to be working with Muse. The one thing I can tell you about Muse is that if you're relatively comfortable with Adobe InDesign, you're going to find that you'll quickly become comfortable with Adobe Muse because it's actually configured so that it mirrors Muse. You get the sense that it is sort of like the Muse is sort of the InDesign of the web world. So you'll probably like it. It's probably a good program to start off with. You don't have to fight through HTML quite as much. It's more of like a layout, intuitive layout program. I tend to like it a little bit for that reason because I never really liked the code, all the coding that goes into Dreamweaver. I always felt Dreamweaver was a pain in the neck to work with.
See, I always loved Dreamweaver.
Yeah, I still do. I can work with it, but it's still a lot more work than Adobe Muse is. But then, of course, there's a lot of people that would poo-poo it and say, oh, it's no good, you know, and all this stuff. So, you know, that's a debatable thing. But at any rate, you know, we're talking just about it a little bit because we started off by talking about, in our first discussion, you know, comparatively speaking, web design to print design. So I just mentioned it. All right, the next thing that I did last night real quickly was I examined and modified the different assets that we received, which I want to just remind everybody it's absolutely critical that you go in and you examine these assets and you modify the assets. For instance, your JPEGs come to you, I'm sorry, your images, the photos come to you as JPEGs, and they are also RGB. And for print, you need them to be CMYK, and it would probably be better for them to be TIFFs as opposed to JPEGs. So you should go in based on the way I demonstrated and modify your images so that they become JPEGs, TIFFs in CMYK. Also, you received several assets in Adobe Illustrator, which were more or less like your masthead or your cover banner for your cover of your publication, or if you want to use it internally, the logo for the publication. They're in Adobe Illustrator files, and it is a good idea to take them and export them as EPS files, and I showed how that was done last night. Also, there's editorial copy, and I pointed out in the demonstration of the editorial copy that there were extra spaces between the paragraphs, which would adversely affect the overall flow of the text. And I suggested that before you actually cut and paste your text in, you go in and remove all those spaces. And again, if you watch the video, you'll see actually how I did that. Then the next thing I did was I built the headline area, and I imported the editorial text by copying and pasting it. And that kind of gets me through where we were last night. I mean, there's probably some things that I missed, but that'll give you a general idea of where we were when I ended last night. So where are we tonight? Right now, or this morning, I should say. Right now, what we're doing is I'm back on page 2, and this is what we have so far. And what I'm going to begin to do is I'm going to begin by building a style sheet for this headline. This is the editorial headline. I'm then going to import a line of text which I did not import yet, which is basically my byline. And you know what a byline is? That's basically where it tells you who the editor or the author of the article is, by Bill Sweeney or whatever, right? You know what I'm talking about, David?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have this copy here, which currently the copy is in Gotham Extra Light, which is not the font that I want to use at all. I chose in my design, I chose Times New Roman, I believe. Let me see if it's Times New Roman. What is it? It's actually, yeah, Times New Roman. I actually chose Times New Roman. So what I want to do is I want to start off tonight or this morning by creating a style sheet for Become a Mindful Eating Master, and I'm going to import the text, create a style sheet for that byline, because we'll use that style sheet again elsewhere. And then I want to format my body copy. I want to get that much done right away. Then I have subheads, and I have images to put on the next page, and I have copy to basically, you know, maneuver around and get it to where it fits properly. I have to create a pull quote, and you know, format some. I guess I think they're. Let's go to page 6. These are. Okay, so these are, what do they call them? Ordered list. There's unordered and ordered list. These are ordered lists. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have to deal with that. Also notice that because the copy is the incorrect copy, I'm using Gothic Extra Light, you can see that the text is overflowing quite badly. So again, I have some formatting to do, and if you take a look at the copy, it all tends to run together because there's no spacing. I removed the line spacing, the extra returns, and I'm going to use what's known as space after to get that spacing to become correct. And you familiar when I say space before and space after, what I'm talking about, David?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so you know a lot of this stuff. That's excellent. That's all this stuff's going to be extremely helpful once you get building this. All right, so let me get back here, and let's do a little bit of work with this. To make this easier for me, I'm just going to zoom in on this guy. There we go. All right, now, the first thing I want to talk about, and I did talk about this very briefly last night. The first thing I want to talk about is paragraph styles and character styles. Okay, and I think I pulled too much out here. Let's see. There's my character style. There's my character. Okay, so here's the deal. When you are building a style, it comes down to what is being utilized within a particular style. If you take a look at the line that says, "Become a mindful eating master," that copy is essentially just an isolated block of copy. If I select it, all right, you'll see that, and again, this properties bar always changes for you to whatever you're selecting, which is very helpful. You'll see that my copy is essentially Gotham, medium italic, 24/28. That gives me the space that I have here. And I've also given it a tracking of 50 points so that it opens it up slightly and it covers the space a little bit better. And it's in the color white. There's no space before, there's no space after. So basically, this particular block of copy lends itself more to being a character style than it does a paragraph style. The difference between a character style and a paragraph style is that character styles do not include any paragraph formatting at all. Are you aware of that, David?
No, that's something new.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You've got two things going here, and that's one of the things that I'd really like to discuss for a moment with everybody, if I can get this thing to do what I want it to do. It's not. Let me get my character. I'll make it happen. There we go. There's my character, and there's my paragraph, and there's my paragraph there. And this guy here I can put back because I have no interest in it right now. All right, so here's what I'm trying to establish for you so that you get a real clear concept of the difference between character styles and paragraph styles, so that as you become a graphic designer, you can get a sense of where you're using them and why you're using them. All right, so check it out. This is your character formatting, okay? You can do things like, you know, set the font weight. You can set the size and the leading, line height. You can go metrics, or you can go optical, or you can, you know, use numerical letter spacing. You can also come in and track things. And then you can do distortions, which I don't recommend you do very much, other than perhaps maybe baseline shift, stuff like that. But that's your character formatting. Okay, so if you're going to create a character style, you're more or less limited to this stuff right here. Okay, so you must keep that in mind. If whatever your style is, and I'm looking at this guy right here, and my style right there is made up of pretty much everything right there, with the exception of one thing, and that's that right there. and that's the alignment. I have this thing set to right align instead of left align or center align. So that's the only thing that is really involving paragraphically here. The rest of it is all character based. So if I'm going to be making a style, all right, I can use a character style for this because I don't need all the stuff that I'm going to be working with in terms of paragraph. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so in order to make a character style, I'm just going to simply come in here and I'm going to create a new character style based on the stuff that I have up here, okay, which is the color white. I have my, my tracking set to 50, 24/28 Gotham medium italic. If I go to my basic character formats, again, you're going to see Gothic, medium italic, 24/28 with a 50-point tracking. If advanced formatting, there's nothing. Character color, there's paper. Okay, so you can get a sense of where all this is being drawn from over here to create your character style. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call this Editorial, E-D-I-Editorial. I'm going to call this Head, H-E-A-D. Editorial Head, E-D-I Head. All right? And I'm going to hit OK. And now, I don't know why this keeps popping up. I have EDI Head. Here's the thing I want you to understand. Right now, do you see where it's set to none?
Yep.
Okay. What you want to do is after you create that style, with your editorial head selected, you want to click on EDI Head. So now if I deselect this, all right, if I come in here with my tool and I click, it is now set to EDI Head. So I have created literally, by virtue of just putting some character formatting into my text, either through here, or even, I'll go back to my character styles, even going to EDI Head and going through here to the basic character formatting, or the advanced, which there's nothing happening right now, and the character color, and any other thing that you might be using here, which in our case we use none of this. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel. I have created my first character style. That's how simple it is. I mean, it's just not something, there's nothing about it that's tricky or difficult. It's just basically identifying a particular block of copy by name with the kind of formatting that you want to use to it. How's that? Is that easily explained to you?
Yeah, it's simple.
So let me ask you a question. Did you work with any paragraph or character styles before?
I've been meaning to, but I've always wrote down what I've been doing. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, well, you're going to find that's not true. Once you get the hang of this and once you get applying it properly, you're going to find that this is actually very good because this gives you...
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, this will give you a lot of options. You just have to basically get used to it. All right, so do you think you're clear on this?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go and we're going to rework all of our copy. Let's do two things, all right? I'm going to put these back into the panel so I have some clear space here, all right? And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. That's why I'm giving you access to the open mic. I like the idea of, you know, dialoguing with a student if it's necessary. So I'm going to move this up a little bit, and I'm going to come over here. I want to point out first that this block of copy it butts right up to that photo, which is sitting on top of my background element. Okay, see that red thing's the background element. If I go to my layers panel, it's not even in the right position. So what I'm going to do is, and this is important for you to understand as well, you can literally move things around very easily through these layers by looking at the little icon when you select something and clicking on it and dragging it down to the proper layer. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Good. All right. So, and you also, are you comfortable working with layers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I really encourage all of you, not just you, David, but everybody, I encourage you to start working with layers, because when you start working with layers, it's one more level of control that you have over the things that you're working with. And of course, we're working with things as images, and I call images any kind of graphic element that you produce, or any kind of photo that you modify. Now, in this particular case, that red thing is in fact a graphic element, but it's being used as a background for other elements. So that's why I have the background there, so I can actually put that on the background layer and control how it interacts with my two other objects. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I have the images and the text. I put them up there, and it could be either the text or the images. That doesn't matter too much. The guide layer, I like the guide layer. I'm noticing right away that I don't have my guides on the guide layer, so I'm going to just drag them down to the guide layer. See, and I'm putting them where they belong to. Now they're on the guide layer, so if I hide them, okay, and I missed one, I guess, oh no, that's not, that's a frame. I'm sorry. There you go. They're on there. Okay, they're on there. Now again, the reason I have a guide layer is because I am working with guides in part of my my gridding system. All right, I have my columns here, I have my guides, and if I zoom in on this guy far enough, you see what I got right there?
Yep.
You know what that is?
Not well. No. Not
Baseline grid.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If you remember from last night, I went to the edit menu and I went to preferences. Whoops. And I went to grids, and I established a baseline grid at 0.5 inches from the top of page, increment every 10 point. And I have a view threshold of 75%.
Oh,
so
okay.
it has to be 75% in before you can actually see it. All right, I'm just going to cancel. All right?
Uh-huh.
All right, so basically that's what I did here. All right? So that's what that is. And you don't see it if you go view, zoom out. As soon as you zoom out, see, now it's gone because it's beyond the capacity to show at this point. All right, so what we've done basically this far is we've created a character style. I am going to editorial. Here's the editorial. I've brought you to the editorial real quickly because last night one of the things that I did was I brought in my headline, which is Become a Mindful Master, which is right there. And all this copy down here is that grayed out copy. I essentially just grayed it out. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to highlight what I'm working on tonight, which is by James Jackson. So I'm going to actually copy James Jackson and paste it in here, all right? And then we're going to format that, and we're going to create a master style for that byline. The reason that I want to focus for 1 second on this copy is because I just want to remind you that when you open up your copy, it's not going to look exactly like this. See, there's a subhead you have to deal with, but it's going to have spaces in here between the paragraphs. They are artificial spaces. They are spaces, they're extra returns. And what I need you to do is when you watch my video, you'll see me do it. I need you to delete all those extra returns, because what we're going to do is we're going to control the spacing between paragraphs by virtue of our paragraph style. Okay?
Yep.
Am I still making sense?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. Let me know if I'm not. So I got this selected. Let's see if I can go copy. There we go. Copy. Now, I'm going to go back to what I was about to tell you here. I got this text frame. The text frame is actually butting right up against that picture and against that background. I don't have to do that, but I'm doing it because I'm going to use spacing to try to position this the way I want. I'm going to come in, I'm going to place my cursor right in front of the weather, and I'm going to hit enter, which brings me down one line, okay? Then I have arrows on my keyboard. You know where those arrows are in the lower right-hand corner of your keyboard?
Yep.
You got an up arrow, a down arrow, a left arrow, and a right arrow?
Yep.
All right, if I click the up arrow, what it does is it places my cursor in the line right above. Cool?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go Control V. I'm on a Mac, I'm on a PC, so I'm going to go Control V, and now I have by James Jackson, which is my byline. So what I want to do is I want to format my byline. And this formatting is what I'm going to be using for pretty much all of my bylines. That's part of the process here, is that when you design something like a magazine like this or a multi-page document, if you have different articles, what you want to do is you want to establish certain aspects of your articles that are different and unique so that they have like an original look as you get to the pages and it's not completely boring. But there are certain things that you want to establish as standards for cohesiveness of design. That's where the graphic designer has the ability to control and use their skill to create something that has the right amount of balance in terms of, you know, originality and consistency. Making sense? Which is what this, part of what this is about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so let's start off by selecting this guy. All right, selecting by James Jackson. Now we got choices here. We have paragraphs right there, and paragraphs right there, and we have characters right there. We also have some of the formatting up here. There's my character. There's my paragraph. Isn't that cool? So you can access the paragraphs and the characters from here, right, which is great. Or you can open up these panels. There's character, there's paragraph. Or if you want, and I'm going to set by James Jackson, believe it or not, I'm going to set that as a paragraph style. So if I wanted to, I can double click on, or I can, click to open up the paragraph style, and I can click here and go new paragraph style. And I open up my paragraph style panel, and I can name this thing byline, B-Y, and then maybe L-I-N-E, byline, just so that you can understand it. And then you can come in here, and you can go to basic character formatting, and we can format this. So while I got this thing open, what the hell? I'll do it, right? So this is my byline, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to choose Gothic for this, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Gothic Medium, okay? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I made it 10 over, what did I put it at? 10 over 14, which I don't think matters very much in this particular case. I don't think it's going to do anything for me. And then I'm going to go to advanced, because it's one line. Then I'm going to go to advanced character formatting. And yeah, I don't need anything here. Indents and spacing. There we go. Okay, so here's where it becomes more of a paragraph style. The reason it's more of a paragraph style is because I have indents and spacing. I have my alignment options, which I'm going to leave it left. I'm not going to mess with that. The left indent, I'm not going to mess with that because I could, but I don't want to indent. I don't need an indent. First line indent, I don't need. Right indent, I don't need. Last line indent, I don't need. What I'm really looking for is I can actually align this to a grid, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to go to space before, and I'm going to put in 0.125, which is approximately 1/8 of an inch. Okay? And then space after, I'm going to put in 0.125 as well. So I just have added about 1/8 of an inch of space from the top to that byline, and from the byline to the next line of copy beneath it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
All right. Now, there's one more thing that I know I'm going to do with this, and I'm going to go to character color to do it. I have these great colors that I've imported, and I'm going to show you how I did that momentarily. I want it to be that nice, I believe it was the orange color is what I was using right there. So I'm going to click on that orange color, and now that color will become orange. And if I go OK, I can come in here, and I can go to my paragraph style and choose byline, and it actually popped that byline in. The problem is it didn't seem to get it didn't seem to move my space, didn't move my copy down. I didn't get that to happen. So I'm going to move it down a little bit, bring it down about like that. Maybe I went a little too far with it. That's probably pretty good right there. And then I'm going to take this guy and bring that guy right to there. And then I'm going to take that guy and bring that guy right down to there. And I'm going to take that guy and bring that guy right. Actually, yeah, bring it down to there. That's fine. Okay, so now I have my paragraph style set up for my byline. Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to verify that the byline, this is a very important thing. You always want to make sure that your byline, when you select a byline, is reading byline. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another paragraph style, and I'll probably do it a different way. All right, so there's a couple of things wrong with this. This font that I'm using for my copy is completely wrong. I'm using, let's go to the character. I'm using Gothic Extra Light. Not a really good reading font for this. It's also 12/15. It's not the size that I really want. There's nothing really right about it. And as a matter of fact, if we go to our back page here, let's go to our back page, you can see it doesn't even fit. See here I got that overflow?
Yeah.
Right there. So it's not even fitting. So I really have problems with this copy. And, you know, again, I can go and I can play around with the columns, and I can do a number of things to mitigate that. But the first and most important thing is that this font's got to go, and I have to work with a font that's probably a lot more legible. And I know that this may sound absolutely boring to you, but I tend to like Times New Roman when I'm working on something like this, because it's an incredibly legible font. So I have my first paragraph highlighted. I'm not highlighting, but I'm clicked into it. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. Okay. And let's see, am I going to get this thing, or do I have to actually select it? Maybe I have to select this thing. Let's see. I'll select it and see. All right. So let's go to Times New Roman. Boom, there. It's now Times New Roman. And the size of it is 12/15. I like the opening of this. I like the open space. I like the fact that it's 15 points over 12. I think that's good. A little bit of extra space is good. However, the problem I have with this is that 12-point type, even for someone like me, is a little bit too big for this. So in my opinion, what I would like to do maybe is go with 11/14. I'm going to try that and see how that works. So instead of 12-point, I'm going to bring it down to 11-point. And I'm just going to round that to 14, 11/14, okay? I am not going to really change anything else here, with the exception of one thing. And that is, I'm going to open up my paragraph panel, or I could even do it this way. Let's do it the other way so that we can see. Click on that, all right? And I'm going to come over to where it says space after. See where I am?
Yep.
It's very important that you understand you have access to the character here, paragraph here, or you have the character here, or the paragraph here, or you can access it by clicking on the paragraph styles and creating new paragraph style. All right? So I'm just doing this a slightly different way. Paragraph style, space after, right? Where is it? Right there, space after. I'm going to add actually, let's see, how does that look? I wonder, that might look okay. Let me just see. Yeah, I think that's just fine right there. All right, so now what I've done is I have formatted one paragraph, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to set up a style for this so that I can modify the rest of my copy in one big gulp, okay? So I'm going to go to my paragraph style again, and I'm going to create a new paragraph style. And this one I'm going to call Editorial, EDI, and then an underscore, main, underscore, copy. Underscore main copy. And click on OK. Now, I'm going to look at my paragraph style, and it's still set to basic paragraph. So with it selected, I'm going to click on Edit Main Copy, EDI Main Copy. And now if I deselect this and I click on this guy, it's still on edit main copy. Let me get the whole thing selected and see if that does it. Nope, it's still there. I want that. There we go. Let's see if it did it now. Now let's see if I got it. There we go. EDI main copy. Okay. So you see what I did?
Yep.
All right. So I've got a byline and I've got EDI main copy. Now I may be a little bit retentive about this, but I tend to like things to flow in a downward flow. So the byline is actually of a higher order than the main copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to drag it up. So now I have byline where I can find it and EDI main copy. So as I go along through here, I'm going to have less trouble finding my styles as I create them. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now I got my cursor placed in Experience. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hit Control A. Okay, and I've selected everything, all of the copy, all the way down through this entire group of linked text frames. And I'm going to click on EDI main copy and watch what happens. Boom. Look at that. Everything formats instantly. Isn't that incredible?
Yep.
That's all there is to this. And now if I go to my page in the back, okay, you can see that, watch this. I'm going to show you that I have got a significantly different deal going on here. Look at that. I got plenty of space, don't I?
Yep.
Look at that column right there. I got all kinds of space. I'm going to need that space because I have things to do, like put some pictures in. I have to put a block quote in. I have to deal with subheads. But this is important for you to understand is that, you know, if you format this copy correctly, I mean, I can still go in and I can tweak this if I have to as I build, but I basically controlled the font and made the font fit in such a way that I can take this space that I got right here. Let me go view, zoom out. I can now, I've got to probably zoom out again. Yeah, view, zoom out. I can actually, see, I have actually left a little bit of space up here. I can actually incorporate that space into designing some of the elements and positioning some of the things that I need to do to help support that. If I go into build, let's go back to, I'm sorry, here, right here. Okay, see what I have to do is I have to put that in, and let's go to the back page. I have to come in and I have to set up, see, I have to set up subheads, and I also have to set up this copy. I have to change this copy and set this copy up in order to actually put this whole thing together. I also put these 3 photos up there. So, and I also have to do continued from and continued to jump pages. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff that we have to do with this to get this thing to finish, but I at least now know that I have the space in order to do that. Okay, so good, so far so good?
Yep.
Anything really ridiculously hard here that you're seeing?
No, not at all.
Great. All right, so I guess the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to see what happens when I play around with my pull quote. So let's go back in and let's take a look at my pull quote. There's my pull quote right there. Okay, so on the average folks in the United States, on the average folks in the United States. So what I'm going to do is go back to build, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to find my line that reads on average, which is right here. And I'm going to select total eating right there. That is the line that I chose. Now, why did I choose that? I don't know, because I did. Do you have to choose that? Absolutely not. You have to make a pull quote. You can make a pull quote any way that you want from any part of this that you want, as long as you have it. You understand that, right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm just doing this because that's what I feel like doing. All right. So I'm going to copy that, edit copy. And then what I'm going to do is deselect it. And I'm just going to go edit paste. Now, I'm not making this hard. I'm just making it easy. Now, I got something to start with here. Okay. Doesn't look very good right now, but I'll fix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into position right here, and I'm going to stretch that out until it covers both of those columns right there. Okay? because that's what the pull quote's going to do. And I'm a little bit far over here, so I'm going to actually back it up to here. That's where I want to be. Okay, so I got a pull quote that's going to ultimately cross two columns. All right. Now let's go and take a look at how I formatted this. Let's go back to here and let's take a look. So what I did essentially was I'm going to click on this, and again, keep in mind that we have the character and we have the paragraph. So in the character, I chose Gothic extra light, 15 point over 18, actually, yeah, 18.75. I want to make it 19. Let's see, there we go. And you see, hardly see any difference when you do that, right? And there's no other information here, but I did make it red, okay? So I'm just going to make a note real quick, GOT, Gothic, extra light, and then I did it 15 over 19, red. And let's go into paragraph real quick, and let's see if there's anything in the paragraph that I got to pick up. There really isn't. But there is a text frame option deal going on here, which I am going to show you in a minute. Are you familiar with text frame options? Have you done anything with them yet?
No.
All right, well, we're going to do that as well. All right, so let's go back in here to the build, and let's select our copy, and let's put our style into this. So go to character. There's no paragraphs. Go to character, and I'm going to change this to Gotham. And I just want to point out that I'm not trying to be boring. I've chose Gotham. I went in, I looked at all the fonts that I had available to me at the time, and I made a choice that I wanted to work with Gotham and I wanted to work with Times. I thought both of them for this particular design challenge that I was working with would probably be good choices. Do you have to use those? Absolutely not. You might not even have Gotham on your machine. And I think I got Gotham from the internet, from the where you get the type, the Adobe type, you know, where you get the type kit.
Yeah.
You're familiar with that?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's where Gothic came from, and I just happened to have it, and I thought that would probably be good. And I tend to like to work with Times New Roman. I like it very much for this sort of thing because it's so standard and it's easy to read, and it gives you a lot of variables. So, you know, again, I'm for some reason I've lost my James Jackson here. Let me see if I can fix that. Let's go back to my paragraph style. I might
That's when you selected all the text.
Yeah, I might as well. Yeah, I might have accidentally done that there, so I've fixed it. Okay, that's just me. These things happen when you're not concentrating on what you're doing. You're trying to talk to somebody. I have to tell you, it's very difficult to work on a project comprehensively and teach at the same time. So when I make these mistakes, don't be afraid to shout them out. I'm a very easygoing guy. I mean, I don't know. You'll find that I'm very easygoing, and if you see me do something wrong, feel free to do that. Oh, and by the way, we got somebody else here. Hold on, Jessica. Hi, how you doing? Do you have a mic?
Yeah, I have a mic.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good. I'm glad you showed up. Thank you for coming. Did you have you ever had me in a class before?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you ever been to Blackboard before?
Yeah, I've been. No, not Black. Well, got Canvas.
No, Blackboard is where you go in for help.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, I have hours there, and you can come in anytime within my hours if you need any help or a critique or anything. I'm glad that you came. Have you been here long? Because I didn't notice you.
Yeah, I've been here for about 20 minutes. I've been listening.
Okay. Don't feel free to turn your mic on and say hello when you come in, and that goes for anybody else. If you come in, feel free to say hello and turn your mic on. I got a question for both of you. Have you ever had another instructor that allows for mics?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Who else? You have a member name?
There's been a few.
Okay. Okay. I think it's a good thing because it gives you more of a feeling of being in a classroom, and it gives you the ability to, you know, come right in and talk to me if you have something that you're interested in talking about, which you may. So that's why I do it. All right. So are you good, Jessica?
Oh yeah, I was just watching and seeing how this was going. So.
Are you okay with it so far? Any questions?
Oh no, I have no questions.
And you're good too, David, right?
Yes.
All right. So I'll continue, both of you, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right. So let's see now. Since I again was talking, I think it was, geez, now I forgot where I was with this. Let me go back to here. And this was, yeah, 15/19 Gothic Extra Light. Okay, so let's go back to build. And it's Gothic Extra Light. And this is 15. Okay, 15/19. And extra light, and I made it red. Colorful theme, red. Okay? And now I have that, and there is my pull quote, basically. Now, the thing that I want to do is I want to establish a little bit of space. First of all, I'm going to try to close that box. Notice right now that if I drag that copy up above the other copy, it just kind of like interferes. They interfere with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to use text wrap on this momentarily. But before I do that, what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if I could maneuver this copy just a tiny little bit. Now, I don't actually have to do that. I could actually go object fitting and then fit frame to content like that. And then I can move this thing, if I want, into position, which I think would be probably right about there. I think, let's see if I'll make it right about there. Okay? I think that's in position. Right. And then I can go to my text wrap panel. Okay, there's my text wrap panel. You're familiar with text wrap, guys?
No, this is, or text wrap, yeah.
Yeah, and I have different choices here. None or no, which is what I have right now. Wrap around the bounding box, which is the one I'm going to use. Wrap around the object shape. In this particular case, there's no object shape. Jump object. So that one might work too, but I'm just going to go wrap around the bounding box. And there, actually, it pretty much did what I wanted it to do perfectly. All right? Are we good?
Yeah.
Now, since you are probably going to create at some point another, well, I think it says you only have to make one, but you may want to at some point, for consistency's sake, you might want to do another pull quote. So why don't I go ahead and make a style for my pull quote, all right? So I'm going to, oops, I don't want to move it. I want to select it. I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to go into my paragraph style, create a new style, which I'm going to call, move it down, pull quote. Oop. Pull quote. And again, all of my character formatting will display. Actually, there's your style setting. There's EDI main copy plus next same style Gotham extra light, size 15, lighting 19, color, and there's your CMYK color, and then there it is. Now, if the reason that this is not applying to selection, I just noticed this. You see how that's not checked?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I check this now, all right, and you guys observed that it wasn't applying to the selections as I made them, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I went in and did that. Now if I hit OK, what should happen is when I look at my paragraph style, pull quotes is now applying to that selection because I chose it. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. So really, for all intensive purposes, we're pretty much done with this spread. Let's go back and take a look at the 3-column and see. Oh, there's one thing that I did that I haven't done yet. And that is, well, there's two things, which I'll do this at the end. You see that little glyph right there?
Yeah.
I added a glyph onto this thing. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my build, and I'm going to place my cursor right after the period, and I'm going to space bar to move into hit a space. And I got my Glyphs panel. You guys ever work with glyphs before?
Only in Word.
Okay. Well, here's the glyph panel. And just so that you know, you go to the type and go to glyphs. That's where you find your glyphs panel. Type glyphs. There's my glyphs panel. I left it out so that we could play with it. And there are different glyphs that you, alphabets or libraries or fonts that you can find. Right here I got Gothic set up. But if I come in here and click on this, I can go down to the end of my list where I have, give me a second, I have Wingdings 3, Wingdings 2, Wingdings 1. Those are all glyphs. And actually, I'm not going to bother doing this because I actually already have my glyphs in here. And there's my glyph. I've saved it, right? All you do to save this, let me show you, is I'm going to double click on that. See how you double click on it and it puts it up there?
Yep.
That's all there is. And because I had it in my cursor in there, I got that glyph. So I'm going to double click and I got the glyph that I want to use. I'm just going to put my cursor in front of it in the backspace and I remove that other glyph. So now I have my my front page all done with the exception of my jumper, which is, I'm going to do that later. So let me scroll up, or actually let me go view. Let's go fit artboard and window, fit spread and window. There we go. And let's go to the view menu and I have it set to normal. Let's go to preview and you can see what that page looks like. What do you think? Does that look pretty good to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best page that you're ever going to see in your lifetime, but it basically does do the job that you need it to do, and we have allowed space up here for our index, which we're going to be building. I guess it's week 4. I think we're building our index. Okay?
All right.
All right. So there we have that. Let's go to page 7. This is the next page that we're going to be dealing with. Okay? I'm going to go back to view, and I'm going to go to screen mode, and I'm going to go back to normal. All right? So now I go back to normal, and I am going to go to my 3-column, and I'm going to jump to page 7 on that, and we're going to take a look at what we're doing at the top here. Okay, so I'm going to be putting these pictures in, and I want to establish a little bit of space up here. So watch what I do. You remember me showing, first of all, Jessica, did you get to watch the recording from last night yet?
No, not yet.
No problem. Okay. Basically, you'll see that I got us to the point where I've been working tonight. I'm not going to go through it again. At any rate, I'm going to be dragging out a couple of guides here. The first guide I'm going to drag to the bottom of where the picture is, okay, right there at the bottom of the picture. And it's going to be at 2.3. I'm going to go 2.3056 IN. I'm writing this down because I'm going to throw these numbers in a minute, and you're going to see what happens. It's very cool. And then I'm going to drag a guide down to here where my copy is going to sit, right there. And that is at 2.7361 IN. Okay, now I can do this because I'm recreating a layout, and I'm more concerned with showing you how this stuff works. But you're not going to be doing it exactly this way because you're not going to be literally copying my layout. You're going to be building your own layout. But you're going to be using the same devices and the same mechanisms largely the same way to do the building. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not confusing you by doing what I'm doing, am I?
No, 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 no.
Okay. If there's anything that I do at any point that confuses you in any way, let me know. Because, I mean, I want this to be crystal clear when you get out of here and you have no trouble with it. So, all right? So let's go back to build. And I'm going to zoom in. Here we go. Let's zoom in on this. All right? And I'm going to start off by dragging a guide any old place right there. Okay? So I've dragged that guide out to 0.32 of an inch. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to select this and I want to set it to 2.3056. And then when I click into any of these other areas, what happened is, did you see how that guide jump down there?
Yep.
It's great, isn't it? I mean, you literally can place these things to the, minuscule little bit of settings here. So let's do it again. Let's drag another guide out. This particular guide, we're going to set this one to 2.7361. And then I click somewhere else, and boom, it drops it right down to where I want it to be. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions about that or why I'm doing it? You know why I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
I'm establishing gridding so that I can take my copy and I can manipulate my copy. Now, what's very important for you guys to remember is that all of these frames have been linked together. I did that last night. I showed you how I linked them all together. Absolutely essential that we do this linking, because this also jumps us from page 2 to page, jumps us from page 2 down to page 7. And all of that text for this article is interconnected. So as I move all this around, it's going to reflow through my available space in my columns, and I'm going to end up with a very nice layout overall. So that's what you really need to do. Okay? I'm going to take my first frame, and I'm going to drag slowly down until I hit that line right there. And then I'm going to take my second frame, and pay attention to what happens over here as well. I'm going to take my second frame, and I'm going to drag that down until I hit that spot as well. And notice it's going down. See how it's going down? And I'm going to take the third one, and I'm going to come down to about right there again. And if we take a look at this at the bottom, we have just enough space here to do some manipulating. Okay, I have to set some spacing up for my subheads, and I also have to maneuver through my list. I have a ordered list, and I have to maneuver through my ordered list. So I believe that that's going to give me just enough space to do that. And I also have to have my jump information. All right, but let's do this first. Let's play around with pictures, because what I did here was I set up 3 pictures that run across the top. And I want to do that again. Not that this is the nicest layout you'll ever see anybody do. It certainly is not. But it is basically a layout that we're going to use. And actually, this thing is off. I should really move that up a little bit, because we don't want that. There we go. That's what we want. We don't want one-line widows. And that's actually a better way to go. Okay? So you see how that actually balances everything a little bit better? I might even be able to modify this one. Let's see if I can get that one. Hold on. Let's see, where are you at? Did I group it? There we go. Okay, that's actually better. That's actually what I wanted. Okay, so, and I still got that 4 up there? Yes, I do. Okay, so we're in good shape. All right, so let's go back to this. And so here's the important thing. This guy right there, see that black line right there? All right, that represents where this page ends and that page begins. In effect, you can consider it as the fold. Okay? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Good. Over here is the trim. This is where the actual page trims out of the larger paper that it is printed on. And right here is your bleed. So are you familiar with those terms at all?
Yes.
All right, so you have no problem working with this, with what I'm following what I'm saying?
Yeah, no problem.
Right. So what I want to do is I want to have 3 boxes that fit equally across the top. And it must end here and it must start there. So how I'm going to do that is actually quite simple. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab a rectangle, the rectangular frame, and I'm going to situate myself in this corner along the trim area and the fold area right there, right there. It's a little hard to get to that point, right there. And I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this thing all the way across to my trim area there. Okay, now I have not done a bleed yet here, and I have not done a bleed yet there. It's important for you to know that. Okay, so you good? All right, what I'm about to do is I'm about to use, I guess you could call it mathematics to try to get this thing to divide into 3 sections, and then I'm going to copy and paste them in position, and I will have my 3 frames. So that's essentially what I'm about to do. Are you with me?
Yep.
All right. So I have a width and I have a height. I don't want to mess with the height because the height's perfect, but I do want to mess with the width. So if I click here after the 8.5, and if I put a backslash and type 3, what that's saying is give me 8.5 times 3, or divided by 3. Did you know that?
Well, I didn't know you could use the math in that. No.
You hit enter, and you see that you can. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
So now I have what I believe are 3 equal pieces. It should be 3 equal. It might be, yeah, I think it's 8.3. Yeah, 8.333. So that should be right. So what I'm going to do to make this thing so I can at least see what I'm doing, I'm going to just put a stroke of black on it so we can actually see what's going on here. Okay? I'm going to go edit copy and edit paste in place. And then I'm just going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to arrow this over until it is sitting right on top of itself right there. I think I might have went a little too far with it, but we'll see. That's probably okay. I think it'll go back 1. That's probably good right there. That's it. And then we're going to go edit, paste in place again, and I'm going to go across, and I should end up right on that trim line. That's what I'm looking for right there. And I think I have to go 1 more right there. Look at that. Isn't that amazingly cool? I mean, maybe you don't think it's amazingly cool, but I think it's amazingly cool because it's very fast and it's very efficient and it's very accurate. And, you know, as a graphic designer, I want to look neat and I want my stuff to look good. Even if I'm not the most inspirational designer in this particular case, I certainly am not being the most inspirational designer. But I want to make something that you guys can understand and it doesn't put you off. The last thing I would want to do is work on things that seem so convoluted and difficult to you that you're not going to be happy with me and you're not going to be happy working on it. So it's a real fine balance between trying to make something look great and make it easy enough that you guys can follow it and not feel intimidated. That's my ultimate goal. Are we good?
Yep.
All right, so here's the next thing. The next thing is that, and I don't know whether you're aware of this, so I'd like you to tell me if I ask you the question. You realize that whenever you have images that are going to go to the trim area, whereas there's your trim area here, and there's your trim area there. That's where the actual paper gets cut, and you get your page. That is not a trim area. That's a fold area, right? You know that, right? You know the difference between trim and fold, right?
Yes.
Good. All right. So you know that whenever you have an image, and you got 3 images here that go right to my trim area, in order for this to be correct, what I have to do is I actually have to bleed them 1/8 of an inch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in this case here, what I want to do is I just want to take this picture and I want to bring it over to my bleed area. And the top, I want to do the same thing. I want to bring it up and move it to the bleed area. This one here, I don't have to do that, but I do have to do the top, and I bring it up to the bleed area. This one here, the same thing. I just have to do the top and bring it to the bleed area. Okay? Now, those frames are correctly set up from a production standpoint to do what I want them to do, which is to literally bring that image to the fold and butt it up against the middle image, which will butt up to the end image, which will go to the top trim, and which will go to the side trim. So the images will encompass the entire top of the page. That's my ultimate goal. Okay?
Yeah.
And if I were doing this in, say, the middle of the page, if I decided instead of doing it at the top, the middle of the page, I would still do it over here. I just wouldn't do it here because I'm in the middle of the page. Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Am I telling you stuff that's boring and that you already know?
Oh, no.
It never hurts to go over the basics.
Okay. All right. So click on this guy right here, And let's go back and see. So I got my 3 columns. Let's go back and take a look at what we got up here. So I got these 3 pictures. Last night I went over the pictures, and I explained to you that it's very important for our pictures to be in a file format that's correct for publication. I chose TIFFs, and I also, these pictures came in from the course as RGB, and I converted them to CMYK. Are you guys aware of that? I went over that last night, but are you guys aware of the fact that, you know, when you have images that are given to you in RGB, you have to check them and make sure that they are in CMYK before you actually submit them, because RGB is an incorrect file format for print. Did you guys know that?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so that's good. So let's go back to here, and let's find our images. So I got my first one selected. I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to find my first image, which is the pesto. I'm going to hit Open, and my pesto comes in, and there's a targeting button in the middle of this. It's very important that you keep that in mind. There's a targeting button in the middle, and if you click that, you'll see that you have this gigantic image here. So I have to go View, Zoom out a couple of times so I can see it. It's enormous. View, Zoom out. Now I could have, if I wanted to, I could have actually resized this photo down smaller, and you might want to actually do that. I didn't do that, and it certainly is not the end of the world if you don't, okay? So what I'm going to do is I sort of, this is placed it more or less in the middle. That's a good thing. So if I click on the upper corner here, and if I hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, I can very carefully start reducing this down until it fits the way I want to in the center of the frame. And I bring it down to about there, and let's zoom in and take a look at what we got. There, that's what we got, and that's what I want. Okay? That was easy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, what I'm trying to do is, any way I can, I'm trying to make this seem easy, because you're going to have to go and you're going to have to do this, and I don't want you to have any trouble whatsoever. So again, my goal is to do whatever I can do to show you this, to make sure that you get a sense of how this is done, so that it doesn't become nightmarish for you. It's something that you can accomplish with relative ease, and you know, not have to struggle mercilessly with it. All right? All right, so let's put our next picture in. File, Place, and this time we're going to go get her right there. Hit Open. I had a little trouble with this picture because of the overall shape of it. Go to the View menu, and let's zoom her out, and let's zoom her out again. And I'm going to come in. I'm going to find my little targeting button in the middle. I'm going to click on that to see my major picture. I'm going to go View, Zoom out again. And there we go. Now I can click on this guy, hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, and carefully bring it down until it fits somehow onto that frame, which I think I'm pushing it right there. That's about where I get to go. And I can zoom in on this. And there's my problem. Because of the nature of this photo, you know, you have to sacrifice some things. So I'm not going to show you the area down at the bottom as I want, and I have too much of her face bleeding off into my bleed area. So what I'm going to end up having to do is sacrifice the bottom to bring her into screen so it doesn't look quite as bad. But I think ultimately, even though you don't see what their hands are doing, I think you get a sense that they're playing in the dirt with herbs, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the picture I was giving. Now listen, if you want, I gave you two free websites. I gave you 2 of them. I would have no problem whatsoever if you go to either or the other of those sites and finding a better picture to put into this. And again, you may not be doing exactly what I'm doing across the top like this, so you may have less trouble with your photo working. In my particular case, though, I had problems with this because she is in a kind of an oddball sort of situation, and it's a portrait instead of a landscape shot. I even actually had a little bit of a problem with this one, because again, you know, I couldn't get all 3 bowls on. But I don't mind the fact that these 2 bowls are cut off on either side. I actually think that looks okay. So anyway, I click on the third picture, And let me just remind myself, it's that one right there. Okay, so go in here and go File, Place. And I'm going to go for my salsa. By the way, just so that you know, the salsa picture and that picture, the herb picture, came from one of the two sites that you were given links to. They are free images for you to use. Be certain that when you pick the images, it says that they're free, because they have some in there that you have to pay for, and they have logos over them. I mean, it's okay if you use that, but it doesn't look as professional as if you find an image that doesn't. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So just be careful when you pick. Click on the salsa, hit open. Salsa comes in. Once again, view. Let's go zoom out and view, zoom out again. And I'm going to click my targeting button. There's my big old picture. And I am going to click, hold the Shift and the Alt key down, and I'm going to just start bringing this in until I get it to a point where I like it. And I think I probably like, I'm going to actually make this a little bit smaller tonight instead of making it as big as I did in the other one. There we go. That ain't too bad. So let's go view, zoom in, and let's take a look at what we got. View, zoom in. There we go. And if I move this thing over a little bit, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the view menu, and I'm going to go down to screen mode, and I'm going to go to preview. And in the preview mode, if you're, I don't know, I assume you're aware of this, right? When you go into preview mode, it shows you how the page will trim out and print. Did you know that, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we're looking at this picture. See, she looks good. Her face is on the page, and you don't see this very much. And if I wanted to, I could actually open this up a little bit, but I tell you, it wouldn't be enough to really gain anything, so I'm not going to bother with it. All right, so basically that's what we have here. There's one other thing that I did, I believe, and that is I selected each one of these frames, and I changed it from black to paper. Let me do it in the middle. And I changed it from black to paper. And I changed it from black to paper. And I gave myself these little tiny white lines. And if you want to, you can actually come in here and you can increase the size of them slightly. So you end up with these nice little white spaces between the pictures. That's just something that I chose as an option. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there you go. There's how those pictures go in. And we're now, let's go view fit artboard and window, or fit paging window. And now you see we're one step closer to being done with this. So what does that leave us with? Let's go back to this. And what that leaves us with, go view fit art, fit paging window. What that leaves me with is, it leaves me with my subheads, and it leaves me with my pull quotes. So I'm going to work on my subheads and my pull quotes next. I'm going to see if I can get these columns to sort of fit correctly as I have here. See how close I can come to that. I like to keep a little bit of space off of the photos. What do you guys think of that? You like the idea that there's a little bit of extra space there so it's not so jammed up next to the copy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I go to the view menu and I go to screen mode preview, you see that's what the overall page looks like. I mean, to me, it's not the most exciting page. It's kind of dull, but it does the job. That's the important thing. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to work on my subheads. So let's go into here and let's find one of those subheads. So let's see here. Let's see. It is, the first one is, I guess it's that guy right there. There we go. All right, so let's go back to 3 column and let's zoom in on this and let's see what I did. So what I did here was I select it, and again, you know, I've got character and I got paragraph. I really don't think that I use, oh, I did actually, space before and space after. So let's get back to that in a minute. All right, so this actually is 12/14. So what I did was I made this thing slightly bigger. That's really all that I did. I made it slightly bigger. I believe this is like 11. So I actually just made this 1 point size, and I changed it from regular to bold italic. Okay, so that's my subhead. And then, of course, what I did was in the paragraph, I gave it a little bit of space before and a little bit of space after. Okay? So, again, one of the things that I want to remind you of was that when you go into your editorial copy, it's not going to look like, let me go Command A and bring this back, and let me bring it all to black. Okay, what I want to remind you is that when you come in here, it isn't going to look like this. There's going to be extra spaces between every paragraph, extra returns. It's actually going to end up looking like this, okay? Every one of these will look like that. You don't want that. You want to get rid of all of them. You want it to look like that so that you can go in and you can control by using space before and space after the space that is between these two paragraphs. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy right here. And I also believe I made it green, if I'm not mistaken. That's, I think, the color I used. Let me go in and quickly see. Yeah, I made it green. Okay, so let's go to our character. And let's start off by going Times New Roman. We're good. This was bold italic. And it is 12 point. Okay. Wrong way. 12 point. And then what I did was I changed the color to, there's my colorful theme. Oh, I forgot to show you how I did this. There's my green. Bring my green in and go to paragraph. And I go space before. All right. Now what that means essentially is it's going to add some additional space before the copy. You understand that? It's right there.
Yep.
Okay. Have you guys used this before?
I have not.
Okay. So Jessica, see, this is where it's important for you to understand when you create styles. There are paragraph styles and there are character styles. And if you have a character panel and you have a paragraph panel, and you also have up here the character style, the character style, not styles, but the character formatting and the paragraph formatting. All right, so what I'm doing basically here is I am putting some space before there. You see how that moved down?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit more space after. Whoop, I went the wrong way. A little bit more space after. So when you deselect that and look at it, you see how you have a definite area around your font?
Yes.
And I might not have even put enough in here. Let me go back and see what I actually had here. I had, let's see what I had. 1875. So what did I have here? Let's see. 125. So I actually want to go 1875. There we go. 1875. There we go. All right. So now that I've formatted this, and that's basically my formatting, space before and space after, and my character formatting, which is green, 12/14 times New Roman bold italic. David, you were here when I was talking about this. I don't know whether Jessica was, but remember I told you that when you are working with the styles, if it has character formatting alone, then it's a character style. If it has a combination of character and paragraph style together, then it is a paragraph style. So I am going to choose paragraph style. And this one here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new paragraph style. And I'm going to call this one Editorial EDI Subhead. S-U-B-H-E-A-D, Subhead. And I am going to make sure it's applied to selection, right? Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Hit OK. And now when I close this off, we should see when we open up our paragraph style that EDI subhead. A minute ago, I don't know whether you noticed or not, Jessica, David, when I was building that, did you notice when I came in here, it was on EDI main copy and there was a plus sign?
Yeah.
Spot that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what that was telling you was that this originally, if I go to another subhead, let's see if I can find another subhead quickly so I'll show you what I'm talking about. Go to another subhead. There's got to be another one here somewhere. Where the hell is it? Where would it be? I don't see one. Let me see. Where are you? That's it. There's only one. Kidding me. Well, I guess there is. Well, anyway, this was set to EDI main copy. And then when I modified it, I got the plus, and that went away when I created the new style. That's really all it is. So I just thought you should understand that so you get a better sense of how this whole thing works. It's really kind of important that you understand how this whole thing works so that you're really comfortable with it. So are we good so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's go back real quickly to the 3-column. So, oh, here we go. All right, there we go. Now watch this. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. There we go. So where are you? Here we go. Okay, so what I did was I actually went enter, and I brought that line down because what I wanted to actually do, begin by giving a slice of apple to each person. Partner A, read the instructions below and write partner B compares this exercise, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. And then, of course, these are your steps. So what I decided to do was I decided to format this, which is currently set as EDI main copy, right? Which makes sense, right? Because it's all part of the regular formatting. So is all this, right?
Yep.
All right. Hit EDI subhead, and now it is formatted as a subhead, that also makes sense. Okay? So there you go. That's basically where I'm heading with this. So now what I need to do is I need to do 2 things. I need to adjust the spacing between these. See how that number and that copy sits way out of whack like that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It looks terrible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of. Do you know how to fix that?
Just delete and
Nope.
space?
No, because they're set with no. You have to use tabs. So anyway, at any rate, this is something that they throw in there because it's kind of like a ringer. So what I'm going to do is I am going to see if I can correct this thing. So I'm going to select this guy right here. Actually, what I think I'll do for this is I'm going to select all of it. I think I'm going to select all of it. Let me go around to 1. Let's see if I can do it with 1. I'm going to go to the type menu, and I'm going to go to tabs. Okay, so here's my tabs. Now, here's the thing that's important for you to understand about tabs. I'm going to focus in on the 1 here. Get it up there. Okay, so these are my tabs. These are my tabs. I haven't really set a tab stop yet, but here's what I want you to see. I'm going to take this thing, and I'm going to start moving this thing over to about there. And you see what it did? You see how it moved all the copy in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I've done is I've basically moved all the copy in slightly. I've given it an inset. The reason I'm doing this is because when you create a list, an ordered list or an unordered list, what you want to do is you want to basically give it a little tiny bit of appearance so that it becomes slightly different. But you don't want to go completely nuts with it. In other words, I don't want to set it way in here. And as a matter of fact, I probably went just a tiny bit too far with it. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to drag it just back. Oops, actually, I messed up. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to just drag it back ever so slightly, maybe to right about. Come on, you, damn it. It doesn't want to move. All right, well, I think I can leave it there. All right, so I basically got a tiny bit of inset. Without that, it was sitting all the way over to the flush with that copy. So now what I want to do is I want to control the space here. To do that, I have these tab stops. This is my left adjust. This is my center adjust. This is my right adjust. And then, of course, this is aligned to decimal or other specified character. Okay, so I'm going to use this guy right here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to place my cursor there, and I'm going to move it where I want it. See, I got this huge gap. It's right over here. I want it closer. I want it to be like right about there. And can you see what it did?
Mm-hmm.
It moved it over, and as a matter of fact, I can move it over a little bit closer to make it look even better. Look at that. Now I'm going to deselect it so you can see. Look at that. Doesn't that look phenomenal?
Yes.
And it was easy to do, right? You're not going to have any trouble doing that, right?
No.
The point is you're going to have to do this. So I just showed you basically how to do it in 2 steps. Really simple. And I really hope that everything I do for you is simple like this so that when you get through with this, you've learned a lot. Plus, you've also not struggled with what you had to learn. All right, so that does that, and that now looks really like a proper list items. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, come in here, and I'm going to format this. So before I go, I'm going to show you, again, I have a paragraph, right? I click on this guy here, and this guy here is my, do I have it? Pull quote subhead. Oh, I guess I don't. Maybe I didn't make one for this. I might not have made one for this. Well, anyway, let's see what we have here. So it's Times New Roman, bold italic. And it is 12 over 15. 12 over 15. It's red. And is there anything on the paragraph? Let's see here. There is nothing. Actually, no, there's nothing. I don't think I need anything. I think it'll be fine that way. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Go back to here, go back to build. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the first one. All right. And I'm going to go to my character. I'm doing this along the top. I hope you don't mind. You can also do the same thing by using these panels over here, and you could even just set up a style by clicking paragraph style and doing it right in the paragraph style. I showed how to do both of them. I tend to like to work along the top there, if that's okay with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what's really nice about these programs, it's very important for you to understand this. In all of these programs, they have that ribbony area at the top. It's context sensitive. It means essentially that whatever you get selected will show things that you can do to that particular selection. So it's really great because it's right up there. So I said this was going to be bold italic, right? And I said it was going to be 12 over 15, which gives you, oh, I went the wrong way, over 15, okay? Now, I just want to show you this. Notice how that becomes bigger, but it is not egregiously bigger. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's subtly bigger. It gives you just enough of an additional space and the weight and the size so that you look at it and it really makes it stand out. So can you kind of understand why I'm doing it that way? It just to me makes sense because it's just enough to make it look good, and it's really not hurting anything. So I missed one step, and that is to select it and go in and make that red. Okay, so now I have my sample. I'm going to go to my paragraph style, and again, because my original formatting was EDI main copy, I have the plus sign there, which means essentially that I am overriding the basic commands of that EDI main. I've added to them. So in order for me to correct this, I'm going to come up and I'm going to create a new paragraph style. And what I'm going to do is call this EDI. And when I write EDI, I don't want you to, get confused. I'm just going EDI because I'm too lazy to type out editorial, okay? And this is going to be called EDI order.
You don't have an underscore.
What?
You're not using underscore.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's underscore or whether it's dash. Either one works, and I'm showing you that because I just want you to know it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's not wrong or right. It's however you want to do it. And as long as you understand what you're writing here, you're going to be golden, okay? And that's going to be LIST. All right, so now I've built one more. Go in here and hit OK. I've built one more style, paragraph style. And I just want you to see, there's my, I only really did one character style. I think last night, and I don't know whether I spoke about it this morning, David, or not, you might remind me, I tend to prefer to use paragraph styles a lot more than I do character styles because you can get more out of a paragraph style. And it just seems to me that character styles are for very limited application. Like if you're just going to put color, or if you're going to just change the size of something and it doesn't involve any other kind of modification, then you do character. But if you're going to actually do multiple lines and you're going to add spacing and stuff like that, it makes more sense to actually do paragraph style. But that is not correct. That's my personal preference. Do you guys understand that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to think that, what I'm saying is gospel. It's just that I tend to do things a certain way because I like things that way. And I think it just is easier, and it's easier for me to organize. I'm getting old, and as I get older, I lose more and more of my brain power. So anything I can do to make things easier, I try to do. And I try to teach that way as well. I try to show you things that hopefully will organize you in such a way that your work will become easier for you, because there's no point in suffering doing the work that you do. As a matter of fact, if you really want my opinion on something, I believe that you should be thoroughly enjoying what you're doing. And by thoroughly enjoying what you're doing, the work that you do is going to be much better, because when you enjoy something, you're really going to put the effort into it, and it'll show. So that's my feeling about these things. All right, so let's take the rest of the copy here, and let's put that style on it. And we're going to click EDI. Oh, did I save it as copy? I didn't get it. What happened here? Oh, what happened? I didn't get it. Did I? You know what? I think I messed up. Let's go back to here. Let's go back to here. I think I messed up. No, I didn't mess up. There it is. Okay, I'm good. I just lost focus for a second. Okay, EDI order list. Boom. There you go. Okay, so I just had a little mental blackout. Let's go to View, Fit, Page, and Window. Let's see what we got so far. This is actually looking pretty good. Now, check this out. I have actually run over, my copies run over a little tiny bit. Okay, so I'm actually running into problems here. So what I'm going to do with this, I think, is I'm going to see if I can alleviate this problem by modifying my copy slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that back up, and I'm going to go into my paragraph style, and I'm going to go to EDI main copy. Let's go into my EDI main copy, and let's go to my basic character formatting. And I set the size to 11. I'm going to set it to 10. And I'm going to set the kerning to optical, and I'm going to hit OK. And there, check it out. You see what happened?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, I got a major jump. Now, this is what you need to realize is that's still 10-point copy. 10-point copy. I mean, I'm 65 years old, and I'm looking at this screen, and I can read. I'm looking here where it says practical mindful eating. Mindful eating means eating with awareness. So at my age, I do have glasses on, of course. I can read this, and that's much smaller than 10-point copy. So 10-point copy is not out of the question for this. All right, now I can modify this slightly, okay, so I can bring that line up. And if I want, I can modify this slightly. So I've got a slightly more even condition across the bottom. See that? And look at that. What do you think? Fits pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
So we're very close to being complete with this thing. What I would do is 3. I don't see what I'm having a problem with here is that's got to come down a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So now I have, yeah. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there I have my back page looking pretty much like my back page of my sample, correct? Let's go Fit, Page, and Window. There you go. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to do a little bit of work over here on that, and I have to add that, and then I have to show you how to do the page jumps. And then this will be done, and this will give you the idea of what you need to do basically to create your project for the week. And I will finish the day. We're running a little bit early, so I mean, see how we can waste a few minutes longer. But I want to come in here and I want to modify this slightly. So let's go back into my build and let's select this. And I haven't got a name for this. Let's see where. When you have both completed the exercise, discuss your experience. What did you notice? Were you bored? Did the taste of the apple change? Was it hard to move slow? So I don't know what to call that. Can you guys think of something to call this? What would we call that?
Question and answer, Q&A.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily an answer. Observation, I guess. You know, something
Okay.
like what have you learned? I need a word.
Evaluation.
Yeah, eval. I think that'll work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Times New Roman. This is going to be italic. I'm not even going to go with bold italic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 11 point, make it just slightly bigger, and I'll set it to, I think I'll leave that 11/14, and I'm going to make it green. Okay, colorful theme. Let's go and make it green. That's kind of a nice color for that. Go into paragraph, and I think what I want to do is I want to add a little bit more to the space after. Just a little bit more. And you know what? Maybe I'll make a little bit to the space before because I got the space to do it. And the reason I'm doing that is, you see how I've set that apart?
Mm-hmm.
I've given it a little bit more presence there. That's kind of what I wanted to do with that. I don't know. What do you think? Is that okay? You guys think that's okay as regular type, or should I pump that up to medium or bold italic? What do you guys think from a creative standpoint?
Fine.
You okay like that?
Yeah, I agree. It's good as it
Okay
is.
like that? All right. And then I'm going to select it, and I'm going to create this, and we're going to create a new paragraph style. And what did we say it was going to be called?
Eval.
Eval. E-V-A-L. Eval. And let's hit OK. Again, applied to style. OK. And then there is our, let's close our tab panel, and let's close that, and let's check it. There it is, eval. So one of the things that I might do with this is, okay, so I got byline, EDI main, eval, that's like the last one, pull quote. I'm doing this order list, okay, subhead, order list, eval. Okay, so do you see what I did here? In order to make this thing go from first to last, because it didn't end up that way, I dragged them around. All I'm doing is this, dragging things around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I have my byline, which was the very first thing that we did, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the EDI main copy was the second thing that we did, correct?
Yeah.
Pull quote, EDI subhead, EDI order list, eval. So all those things now go in order, and we have it working very well. And it's probably going to be very easy for me to come back in and modify any of these that I might want to modify. Or if I was working with somebody, somebody would be able to go in and figure out exactly what we were doing there. All right. So this is part of what you're going to be working on when you create this. So at this point where we are, you see any problems or anything that you have trouble with? Are you guys like solid here?
I'm sorry. I got one quick question when you get a chance.
I got a chance right now. I'm in no hurry. Okay. It's at 32. I got 25 minutes, and okay. I'm running out of things to show.
All right. On the pull quote, I've noticed a lot in magazines that they usually have some kind of colored background. Is that something you just would create a colored box and drop behind it, or?
No, you can do it a number of ways. Let me go back in. First of all, let me just say to you that it was my choice not to do that. In other words, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Let's go to, let's fit page and window, and let's.
I was just going by a standard I've seen.
Well, I got time. I mean, I got time here. So what I'm doing basically is I'm utilizing the time, and you asked a very legitimate question. So here's the deal. All right, what I have right now, and I'm going to open this frame up ever so slightly. Okay, so now what I have is I have a frame, and I have this, and I even open it up a little bit more. There we go. And it pushed it down so I can even open up a little bit more. All right, so now we have a frame, and we have text in that frame. And the frame isn't doing absolutely nothing for us. The text is what it is. It's colored. But the frame is doing nothing. I chose it that way. Again, I say this. But basically, we have a frame, and we have text in it. So now what we can do is we can go into the object menu. I got the frame selected, not the text. First, that's the most important thing for you to understand, okay? Right. All right. Go to text frames options. And when the text frame options open up, what you want to do here is you have the columns. I can change it to different columns, but I'm not going to do this. There's a number here that you could put in. I have inset spacing. What I'm going to do here is I have inset spacing. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. Let me see if I can get this over so I can see it a little bit better. I'll have to close this because it can't be done unless I move this first. There we go. Let me get it over right to there. Okay, I just want to be able to see it. And let me go zoom out a little bit. There we go, zoom out a little bit. Okay, that should do it. Let me move it over. Yeah, I think so. All right, actually move it over just a bit. That's good. You can see the whole thing, right? You can see it. All right. Object, text frame options. So you know where to find it, text frame options.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it over to here. You have inset spacing. Now, inset means that you have a frame and the copy is going to be inset from the edge of the frame. So I'm going to click on the top and you see what it does? And you see the little line. So I'll do it one more time. There. Now that actually looks fairly well centered. It's a little bit high at the top. So if I want, I could come in here and I could even modify this and go to 20 and then make it slightly less. And maybe I'll go 12. Let's go 11. There. That I think is probably pretty good. You know, when you do insetting and stuff like that, you don't want things to absolutely be centered. You want them to be, you know, like maybe slightly larger on one and slightly less on the other. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. We're going to go left and right. I'm going to click it one time left, and I'm going to have to click it one time right. Okay, so you see how that breaks?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really a good thing. So what we would do in that case is we would go to, and actually, here's what we could do also. Let me go back out here. Let me go top. Let's go out of the top, and let's go out. Oh, I didn't have it at the bottom. See where it says vertical justification?
Mm-hmm.
What I could do is I could do this too, center. You see how it automatically centered it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now if I want, I could come in here and I could go, and I don't know whether I like this. I think probably the thing to do with this in this particular context would be to select it. And actually, I don't want to select that. I want to select this. There we go. And go into character, and let's make it 16, maybe 17. And it breaks again. Let's go to 16. Oh, no, wrong one. Make it 16. And let's go back and see what we get. All right, so we got that. And I think I can now go with my text frame options. Object, text frame option. And am I confusing you?
No.
No. I'll go to my left. I just want my right. No, the left. I want to move in from left. That's it, yes. From the left, I'll move it over. Let's see if that looks more centered. Probably a little bit more. Let's go one more. And that might be too much. No, actually, that ain't too bad. What do you think? Is that okay? Maybe let's try making it 65 instead of 75. So I'm just playing with it because visually, there's no way other than to visually do this. See what I'm saying? There's no way other than visually to do this. You have to basically do it, and it has to be done visually. If you want, you can even open the frame just slightly. Okay, so now that you've got this thing sort of centered and you have a frame here, you can come in and you can apply a stroke to it, okay? And you can apply a fill to it. Let's go in and let's apply a fill, like a red fill to it. And then you can select all the text, and you can change the text from red to, say, white or paper. And there is, go view, fit page and window, there is a totally different way of looking at a pull quote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that looks like a pull quote, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. So you think you can handle that?
Oh, yeah.
And just remember what I was saying to you is that when I made my pull quote, I chose not to do that. I just chose to make a regular, blob of copy in there that was just stretching across two columns, and I had space and a certain amount of space, and I had a nice red looking font that was big as a pull quote. So this is another option that you're going to use, and there you go. So what's left? All right, so what's left is our jumping pages. So here's what we want to do here. We have page, let's go to the view menu and fit page and window, and let's go view, screen mode, normal. Okay, so we're on page 2 and we jump to page 7. So here's what we want to do. We want to create a jump. Let's go view, zoom out, and a little bit more view, zoom out. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here. Notice I got these columns, and I've got a little bit of space over here to work with. So I'm going to take and create a text frame. First of all, let's see where my text frame goes. Okay, so my text frame goes to here. You see how my text frame goes right to here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so part of the key to this is that we're going to put a text frame over top of another text frame. So I'm going to create a text frame that goes from here over to here. There's my text frame. Okay? And I'm going to type in continued on. Now, I know it looks nuts, but for some strange reason, whenever I type anything, when I create a new frame, it comes out in wingdings. So I've just gotten used to it. It doesn't bother me. I'm going to go Times New Roman. All right. Oop, I have to select it first. And go Times New Roman. There we go. And I think what I had was Times New Roman italic. There we go. And I think what I did actually, if I'm not mistaken, I set my alignment to that. Okay? Insert on page, and then I want to make sure I have a space. And I want to go to the type menu and go to special characters, and I want to go to markers and next page marker. Okay? And notice what it does. You see what it does?
Mm-hmm.
It sets it up continue on page 7, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Automatically. And isn't that where it goes?
Yep.
Okay. So all it is basically continued on page, and then you go object, type, special character markers, continue on next page. And it'll give you that. So I'm going to do the same thing. Let's go back into my, whoops. Now it's acting all crazy on me. Now we're going to go to View, Fit Page and Window, and let's go to page 7. There we go. And we're going to do the set. Oops, it looks like for some reason now I got some extra here. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to have a little bit of a problem with this. Let's see if I can maybe get this thing resolved. Let's see if I can. I think what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to have to modify this subhead. This subhead has got to be modified. So let's go into my paragraph, and that is my EDI subhead, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to go to spacing and space after. I'm going to remove space after. I'm going to try to make it about the same as the top. Hit OK. And there, that closes that up a little bit, and that gives me a little bit of room down there. Okay, so you see what I had to do?
Mm-hmm.
I had to modify it because I need a little bit of space down there for my continue. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong place. I need it up here. That's what I needed. So this is going to flow down. Okay, so watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to zoom in this area here. Okay, and I'm going to create, and by the way, like I said before, after a certain point, you can see how your baseline grid shows. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to create a text frame up here. All right. I'm going to create a text frame up here. I need to create it off of it or I'll have a problem with it. There we go. And I'm going to now move it into position over top of this slightly. And I'm going to move it in. Okay. And I'm going to move it in like that. Okay. And I'm going to continued from, and what size did I use on the other one?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Command A. And let's go to, I know it was Times New Roman, and I think it was just italic. It wasn't bold italic, right? It was just italic.
No, it's just italic.
Continued on page. Let's go continued on page. Type, insert special character, markers, current page number. And I got 7. That's not right. Edit, undo current page number. Type, insert special character. Previous page number. Stupid. I just grabbed the wrong one. There you go. Okay. So there it is. Now, what I could do here is go object, fitting, fit frame to content. And now I have that fitting. And what I can do is I can click on this, and it didn't really do anything because maybe I'm not over top of it. That's what the problem is. All right, so I'm not over top of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this down a line, just like that, okay? And the only reason I did that was because I wanted to be able to get that in there so that it didn't, violate the space, and it more or less works in line. So let's go View, Fit Page and Window, and let's see what we got. So there we have it. There's our page, and there it's done. Now, the only thing that I need to do here to finish this thing up is to come in here, and I want to place another one of my little glyphs. Come in here and get my little glyph, and I'll place my little glyph right there. Maybe I need to put a space on it. And there you have it, my friends. Let's see if I can go View, Fit Page and Window. And let's see maybe if I can take this guy, click on that, and bring that up a line. There we go. Now that, well, actually, I do run into a little bit of problem with that line right there. So what I'm going to try to do is, what do I do with this?
Take it down like a half a point?
Yeah, I don't want that line down there, though, I don't think. Well, let's see if it does. That's not too bad. That actually is all right, I think. There we go. Let's go to the View menu, and let's go Screen Mode, Preview. There's our page. Does that look okay?
Yeah.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially my version of what you're going to do. Again, I tried to make it as simple as possible. I hope it wasn't overly was this overly complex, what I did?
No.
No? You're good with it? You're happy with it?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Because, again, I mean, there's a lot to do, but I tried to do it in such a way that you didn't feel overwhelmed by it, and I hope that worked. So now that you've basically got this done, and you are pretty much done, I think, yeah, I mean, you really only need to do this page here and this page here. So you've got 8 pages here. This week's assignment is to do your editorial, and it is going to be on page 2 and page 7, and you need to just remember that you have to leave some space to put a table of contents in up here. I left a good amount of space up there, and if you go to let me go File, Open real quickly, and let me go to my final. You go to my week 4, and you open it up. There's my table of content. There's my table of content. See, so my table of content took up a nice little area, and it looks pretty good. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, does yours have to look like that exactly? No. But the point I'm trying to make is that one of the things that you must do in the assignment this week is you must keep in mind that you have to have this table of content area. You have to save it for that. So just be sure that you do it. You don't have to build it this week. All you have to worry about is close that too. Oops, that's the wrong one. Yeah, I want this one closed. There we go. Save changes. Yes, this is the one. Okay, all you have to do is that and that. All right? And remember, when I did this, okay, let's go to the View menu and let's go Screen Mode Normal. I don't know whether you can see it, but I have these pages, I have these columns linked. Okay? And if you go to the Type menu, you can go to let's see, where are you at here? Object. Where are you? where was it? Type. Is it the view menu? View structure. Extras, where are we at here? Frame edges, text threads. There you go, text threads. View, I'm sorry, extra. Go to view extra text threads. If you have correctly linked your text frames, and you do that by clicking on that little box like right here, I'll show you. I'll do a very quick one so that you can see what I'm talking about. And do another one right next to it. Okay, so if you want to link these two frames together, okay. Oh, I get the wrong one. Damn it. Hold on. Huh. Here we go. Okay, so I want to link these two frames together. You click here, and you get that. And then when you see, you get that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you click here, they become linked, and there's your text thread. And you do that, the same thing. You just click here, and then you go to your page, and then you click on that frame, and it will link to that frame. See it? And you see where that line goes up to page 2?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's showing you that that's doing that. That's all there is to doing this. It's really all the stuff. If you just know what you're doing and you take it one step at a time, you're going to have no trouble with any of this. So what's the last thing that you got to do here? This you probably know, but you're going to go File, Save As, or Export, I should say, Export. And you're going to, I'm going to do it on my desktop. And I'm going to name this, all right, and you're going to name it, you know what I mean? You're going to name it, and you're going to name the assignment and the course and all that stuff like they instruct you to do. And then you're going to save that guy, all right, as a PDF. Don't worry about all the settings in here because this is just basically a preliminary view of part of it. So just make it a PDF and hit export. And then what will happen is you'll end up, I don't know, I think it's still saving. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so let's see here. Bill, there it is. And then I on my, there it is. It's coming out. You know why? Because I'm looking at the first page. You should find, there's the page. Okay, so there's your second page. All right, so there it is. And you're going to have a PDF, and it'll ultimately be those pages. Now, another thing that you could do if you want, I think, let's go back to this, and let's go to File, Export, and I'm going to put it again on my desktop. And let's see here if I can pull this one off. All right, let's see. All pages, range, and I'm going to go pages 2. Oh, how come I'm not getting my range here? You cannot specify if you're only in the last column. They're not alternate layouts. What are you talking about? 2, 7. There we go. Let's see if that'll do that now. 2, 7. Let's see if that does it. All right. Did it? And let me go. Come on. There we go. Oh my God. What's going on with this thing? Where's the view? View. Oh, it's not responding. Oh, this thing's being an absolute monster. This thing being a monster here. Don't say. Come on, come on, come on, come on. We ain't got all day here. What's the deal? Oh, you see what's happening? It's just not responding. I think I got 2 and 7. That's what let's go view. Page display, single page view. Come on, now do it. Oh, you are really being a monster. What? No? You're not going to do it? It's not a single page view at all. Well, anyway, there it is. Guess what? That worked. Okay? For some reason, it isn't letting me view it, but can you see I only got 2 and 7? Mm-hmm. Okay, so did you get how I did that?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Excellent. So really, if you want, you can do that. You can send me just 2 and 7 because that's what you're working on. And that's all you really have to worry about for this week. I think I've run out of things to talk about. Do you think I missed anything?
No, I don't think so.
Do you have any questions or any thoughts or anything you want to share with me before we end for today?
I only have one question about the discussion.
What's that?
On the discussion, it says to discuss the similarities of both types design with traditional print and web. Do we look up on Google and find 2 different ones and then discuss that?
No, here, you know the easy way to do it? When you go to Google, Google print versus web layout design. Use that search criteria. Print versus web layout design. And you're going to get more information than you're ever going to need to do your art, your article. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, I'm really happy that you guys showed up. It was fun having you. It makes it a much more interesting presentation. I hope you were happy with what I did. Good luck, and I guess I'll see you next week, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. You all have a good day.